We've got nothing to be proud of. Zimbabweans around the world see their country in ruin. We see inflation in multiple numbers. To give you some perspective, to buy a single loaf of bread cost 7 million Zimbabwean dollars. That's not right. The local people cannot survive. Businesses are actually moving away from Zimbabwe. People have no confidence in the currency itself, and in fact it's been ditched for the dollar and the euros and other currencies like that.
And the MDC headed by Morgan Tsvangirai speak of change right now?
Yeah, well, they can. But the thing about Mr. Tsvangirai is that he's been spewing the same message for the last 3 odd elections that have come and gone, and he's not been very successful. So he's got to look this in context, and he's actually got the fact that the West completely supports him, and you've got Mr. Mugabe on the other hand, who's seen as a complete enemy to the West, and the Zimbabwean people have not been able to fully accept him. He has actually tried to accuse the system which he's fighting with, meaning the Electoral Commission of old, that they've actually been sort of underhanded play, which has resulted in him not winning the election 3 times in a row. But he's got to actually be able to go out there, speak to his people, and actually command a lot of respect beyond his own party. What you find is he's got massive, strong bases within the major cities. But beyond that, into the rural zones, it's all Mugabe land. First of all, you've got to understand that Mr. Mugabe's got a stranglehold on the entire elections. He's controlling the mechanisms that especially the Electoral Commission. It's all his. He's determining how the elections are being run. He's preventing international observers from actually influencing elections. Well, that's not to say that the regional bodies that are actually supporting elections may not be able to do a fine job.
It's on the economy. Io Johnson in London.
Yes.
By all accounts, Zimbabwe is in deep financial crisis, with about 4 out of 5 people estimated to be out of work, and prices tripling on a daily basis, with wages failing to keep up, to say the least, I think. Can the economic situation get any worse?
Well, it's the worst the world has ever seen. So in terms of getting any worse, we've got no precedent to actually form any relationship with it. But the economy is in complete ruins. Mr. Mugabe has lost control of fiscal policy. He's lost control of the economy. The businesses can't really thrive within the economy. For those who would like to stay, who are actually trying to do businesses beyond all sorts of constraints, you've got no one to buy the goods and services in the shops because no one's got any money. So in terms of getting worse, it's the worst we can possibly see. Mr. Mugabe's got a lot of problems here. How does he resolve the problem with his economy? He's got to look at, assuming he stays, he would have to look at funding in terms of investment to the East, because the West have actually shunned him, and they've made it quite clear they're not prepared to support him. Because he needs aid, he needs trade, he needs loans, of which the IMF and the World Bank are not prepared to give, and he will have to look to the East to see whether the Asian countries can assist him, and even any of the Arab countries can help him.
In Washington, D.C., Ni Akwete, African policy analyst, is joining us. Welcome to tonight's Four Corners, Mr. Akwete. We're talking about the economy, the economic situation in Zimbabwe right now as we speak. By all accounts, it is in deep financial crisis. 4 out of 5 people are estimated to be out of work. Food handouts are being made. What's the situation? Do you think it's the fault of Robert Mugabe, perhaps, or is it the outcome of Western-backed sanctions?
I think it is both. I think there is no question that the situation inside the country is very dire. The last time I was in Zimbabwe was quite a long, many years ago, and even then things were very hard. And now you realize that they have gotten much worse. So I think that is the thing that needs to be underscored. And when I got into the conversation, the last speaker said that, yes, if Mr. Mugabe stays, and he needs all the economic help he can get, but he's unlikely to get it from the West, so he must look to the East. I agree, but what I will add to it is that there are so many Africans who are now immigrants in both Europe, the United States, and Canada. I think they need to play their role to shine a light on the policies of the Western governments, because, let me repeat, I do think that one must hold Mr. Mugabe responsible because he is the president. He's supervising the country. However, the role of the Western countries, the role of the European Union, the United States, Canada, Australia is crucial, and we should not write it off. I do not agree. I think their policies are flawed. The policies need to be changed. And if African immigrants in these countries organize and work with other friends of Africa and Zimbabwe in those Western countries, they can change the policies of the Western countries. I will emphasize that I don't think we should write off Western policies as they are now, because the help that can come from the West is far more than what can come from the East. Moreover, I am a little bit uneasy about the help from the East, especially from China, because China itself, its democratic credentials are very flawed. So I would not like for China to be the main development partner of any African country, because China's own democratic credentials are too flawed. So those of us in the West who care about Zimbabwe must do our work to improve the policies of the United States, the United Kingdom, and the European Union and Australia towards Zimbabwe.
Right, so
it gives us a good perspective that the Zimbabwean people have a real choice, a choice between an inward-looking Mugabe, a Mugabe who's thinking about nationalization and the issues that come with that, and you have an outward-looking Tsvangirai who would more than likely bring the level of investment that all our colleagues here are trying to discuss about. So it's about real choice. And it's about whether the Zimbabwean people actually understand the ramification of the choices they do make. Because if they were to choose Mugabe on one hand, it means that the West would not support the inequalities and human rights issues are associated with China and some other countries that would support Mugabe may not be a good thing. And on the other hand, you have a Tsvangirai who would bring all the level of investment that one would expect within any normal country. And to cap that up, places like the IMF and the World Bank would support financial investment, which Zimbabwe crucially needs at this junction. And there's got to be something fundamentally decided as to what will happen with the currency. As we know, there's no confidence with the currency. The currency has lost its value to the extent that no one wants it, and it's been ditched for the euro and the dollar. So whether a new currency will have to be developed, which will then be pegged to one of the more structured currencies of the world.
Mr. Tsvangirai has promised to fix the economy, so to say, in about 10 days' time. But do you think that we're going too far, maybe?
Yes, we are. And I think it's all, I think he's not thinking very well, because really, the economy is in such a bad shape, it's going to take years to sort out. And he's going to need the diaspora population to come back, and he's going to need a lot of businesses to bed in and set in. And for the economy to start getting back into the normality of what we expect economies to be around the world, that is going to take a long, long, long time. And in fact, it may go beyond a term of 5 years. So if he's saying and telling his people that it will happen tomorrow morning or happen within the first 100 days, then I'm afraid he's not speaking in the fashion that you and I would aspire to. The opposition I would expect them to follow a similar style to what's happening in Kenya, whereby we may have demonstrations, hopefully not violent ones. But again, Mr. Mugabe has made himself very clear, and he's put his security forces on full alert to stamp out any such things should that fester. But I think the problems is what it would mean for Zimbabwe and Zimbabweans. It would mean more of the same. It would mean more hardship. It would mean hardship at the level which they've never seen before, because where they're going at the moment, no one else can actually see how far the economy can go down in terms of destruction.